If you're watching this, we just had Brainal. Lao Sen Pepier. LOL, so funny, you always know how to take the serious out of the topic. Best learning experience ever. Thank you very much. I want to be the kind of girl who gives and takes life-shatteringly good Brainal. Can I get pregnant from this? Not directly, no. But indirectly, yes. Use with caution. I've thoroughly enjoyed this Brainal experience. It's taken me to a new level of awareness that makes me want to do it over and over again. Brainal can have that effect. Selena Mendez. I need a post-Brainal sandwich. Jameson, how come you never make me a post-Brainal sandwich? God, I cringed so much at this. Sorry, Crystal. It's a more pleasant experience when you relax. Let's get Brainal on these guys, ladies. The ones that can't hang, we don't bother with. Word. Matthew has obviously been working out. Yes, I have. In my Brainal cavity. Edit that out, Jameson. Too much, Matthew. I'm sorry, but no. It is really good that you show example on real people, but I preferred the videos when you just talked to us. It was more personal and less distractive. I like Matthew's videos very much, but this is the first video I find fake. That's what TV shows make with people. Instead of a psychology professional, I see a TV performer and bookseller. The difference between Matthew's old videos and late ones is the same as the difference between Bernard Shaw's and Austin Powers' humour, and it's called class. Look, I don't get offended by comments very often, but to suggest that Bernard Shaw wasn't both a huge fan of giving and receiving Brainal is just deplorable. The truth is, guys, amidst the craziness of the Brainal video and all of the hilarious comments and all of the comments that said that we're not being serious, the truth is we are always trying to entertain and to educate and to put out a message in a unique way, because that's how people really learn. People don't learn when you do the same thing over and over again. People learn when you're able to keep creative and allow them to watch something that catches them a little off guard. And I always want to do that with you guys. I want to sometimes talk to camera and sometimes make something funny and sometimes make something that is unexpected, because I think that's how people learn best. It's not when they're in a passive state, it's when they're actually thinking. I always learned that you have to entertain first and educate second, because unless people are entertained, they're not being educated. So hopefully it made you think a little bit, it made you laugh a little bit, and somewhere in there we were able to actually get across a message that meant something. A lot of work went into it, so I hope you enjoyed it. And there have been a huge amount of comments calling out for the bloopers from Brainal. You spoke, we answered. Let's roll that, Jameson. See, the truth is, intelligence is sexy. I'll show you. Intelligence is sexy. I'll show you. Could we do, from all the stuff we've got, we could easily do a Brainal outtakes, couldn't we?
That'd be great. I'll look at it.
Because the shit by the table was funny. 4 Delta, take 1. Brilliant.
That was really good.
That was really good.
Thanks, guys.
And Chad like agrees with him and stuff, but Chad kind of agrees with everything because he's like, you know, was kind of brought up in a rough childhood, so he wasn't allowed to have opinions. So I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. Like, and it's funny because my nickname's Hard Place. And then my mom calls, and it's like, Mom, I can't deal with it right now. I'm trying to put a band together. And then she started talking about the cards.
Like the summer of '02, like what people in Silicon Valley still hoping that like their pensions would pay out. Like those people are stupid. I mean, look at Microsoft. Like, yeah, it's a great business model, but I mean, f that guy, right? Like, what's he doing? Have you even?
Ouch, Charlie. That's dry Brainal, and it really hurts. Ouch, Charlie. That's dry Brainal, and it really hurts.
And Chad like agrees with him and stuff.
Go deeper, Chuck. Much deeper.
Create new directions, stretch boundaries, push comfort zones. I play the out of that bass.
I love you.
Like I didn't expect it to be that good. That was.
In fact, it kind of feels like.
We just had brainal.
God.
Look, I don't get offended by comments very often, but to suggest that Bernard Shaw wasn't a huge fan of giving and receiving anal is just deplorable. But to suggest that Bernard Shaw wasn't a huge fan of both giving and receiving anal. But to suggest that Bernard Shaw wasn't a huge fan of both giving and receiving anal is deplorable. Jameson, that was you.
No, you said anal.
What? Did I say anal?
You said anal for the third time.
Did I say anal each time then?
Each time.
Okay, alright.
Not me.
I thought that was fine. Okay, I thought you messed that up.
No,
Alright.
man, I'm perfect.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Matthew Hussey with Love Life, my radio show, which is very exciting for me every time I do it. We have a caller on the line today. Are you there, caller?
I am here, Matthew. Wow, it's been a long time since we ran into each other at LAX, if you remember.
Tell me, when did we meet? I've met. You don't know how many people I've run into at LAX.
It was back in March. It was LAX. We were on the way to one of your Get the Guy tour events at Vancouver. I don't know if you remember or not. I'm sure you run into people.
I was sitting. All right, I was sitting down in a chair when you came up to me, right, in the little waiting area at the gate.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So Sarah, let's do this. What's your question?
Well, the reason I called in today, it's because I need to seek your advice on something. I recently moved into a new town, and all of my friends there graduated, and they have moved to other states. So, and coincidentally, there is this guy I've had a crush on for a long time. He also moved into the same town. But right now, I don't have anything fun to invite him to. Should I just wait until I find or I make more friends and just invite him to like a group event, or just be direct about it and just tell him, okay, let's go out for drinks or grab a bite? So what do you think? He's a shy type, very egoistic, if you call it, and he's a type that never approaches girls, and I know that he likes me because he has hit on me in the past and we have hooked up once. So what do I do about this situation? I know you have an answer for me.
Well, I'll attempt to be slightly more epigrammatical than the question. The question you asked, firstly, you've moved back to a new city, haven't you? Or to your old city, I should say.
It's my old city, yes.
Okay, so
Where I went to school.
you have an advantage. Now, if you were someone just calling me to say, I've just landed in a new city, I now need to know how to navigate my way through it and meet new people and have interesting things to do, my first piece of advice to you would be to go out and become a regular in certain places. If you, for example, are a regular in a coffee shop, and you keep going there and you keep meeting the person behind the counter and having a little conversation with them, eventually you'll get to know them. You'll get to know other customers and people who frequent that venue, and eventually you'll build connections that might lead to going somewhere. The same applies in your favorite bar. The same applies in the gym. Obviously, something you can do over and above that is join a class, because when you join a class, you actually get to meet people through that class and you have an excuse to socialize while you're there. So as a very easy step, it gives you a reason to go and socialize with people instead of feeling like you're just going out on your own to a place. So that's a nice thing to do as well. Now, the point of all that is to meet people and to build connections that could take you further. Now, I always say to people, empower other people to help you. Tell them that you're new in the city. And again, let's stick with the person who's new in a city, and I'm going to come to you in a moment with your situation. If you were new in a city, you would empower other people to say, look, I'm new in this city. I'm trying to find new places. If you have any recommendations or anything going on, let me know. I'd love to join. Because people like to help that person who's new in a city. It makes them feel important and confident in their city. So that's the first thing I would say. Now, you have an added advantage. All of that still applies to you, except you're not going to say, I'm new in this city. You're going to say, I haven't been in this city in years. I honestly, I want to meet some new people and make some new friends. I'm building my life here again after years of being away. That will do this. That will have the same effect. But the other benefit you have is there probably are some people you do still know from that place. Is that right?
Yes, I still know, but I'm left only with my married friends.
That's okay, because what you can do every now and again is invite your married friends over for drinks or a little bit of food, have a little, it doesn't even have to be a dinner party, just a little gathering at your house, get some drinks and tell everyone, look, bring more people. I want to meet people now that I'm back in town. So everyone brings somebody. That way, you'll meet their friends who won't necessarily be married. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to meet someone you're really attracted to. It just means you're going to start expanding your circle. Now, to the guy that you were talking about, what you're really talking about is being able to be confident in that place and in your social life so that you can bring him into your world, correct?
Yeah.
So the quicker you begin going and trying out new places, the quicker you can say, oh, come to this place. I just tried it the other day. It's really nice. Or let's go eat here. Or by the way, involve him in the experience. I really want to go and try this place. I just moved back to town. Let's go try this sushi spot. It looks amazing. So you involve him in your rediscovery of the city. That can be fun too. So you can do it both ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So your recommendation is just try to make my social circle first and then approach him, right?
Well, I think you can do both at the same time, but there's no harm in building up your life in the process while you're talking to him, because what that's going to do is it's going to give you options. You're also going to realize, by the way, that he's not the only guy in the city. That's going to help. It's going to make you less inclined to focus only on him, which is a recipe for disaster, especially when you're trying to find your feet in a new city. So you don't have to avoid contact with him until this special time when you're ready in your social life. You'll never be fully ready. But I would say do both simultaneously. Go and build your life independently of him. Try new places, meet new friends, meet new guys. And at the same time, you can be talking to him and involving him in little parts of that discovery process. Okay, I'll make sure to do that. Yeah, I think you answered my question, and I have to thank you for your advice, your positive energy, and I have to say that it's not really relevant, but I'm in your impact program, and I think it's awesome, and everybody should get on it too. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. I just released that and I've been very, very excited about hearing people's feedback. So you're actually the first caller I've had on the radio who has mentioned it. In fact, I think you're one of the first callers I've had since the program released. So that you can't imagine how much that means to me. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad to have you, Matthew. I'm sure in the future I will call for more advice, but it was great talking to you.
We hope you do. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you all for listening. This has been Love Life. I'm Matthew Hussey. That was Sarah, the lovely Sarah. If you want to call in and ask some advice, you can call on 844-204-6288. That's 844-204-MAT. And if you're not following me on Facebook right now, go there and do that. All the latest information, news, articles, videos from moi. I will see you there. It's Coach Matthew Hussey is the Facebook name. I'll see you soon. Last week, I gave people the chance to ask me anything, and one of the questions that came up was, can men and women just be friends? I answered it somewhat flippantly with a little test, which I'll tell you about at the end of this video, but I wanted to elaborate further on this concept of men and women as just being friends. If we're in a relationship with someone, we don't necessarily feel all that comfortable with them being in friendships with the opposite sex because we're worried that there might be something more there. What if there's attraction there? I want to delve into this a little more because I feel like there is a somewhat childish assumption that our partner will never be attracted to anyone else and shouldn't be attracted to anyone else. And in trying to believe this, we also attempt to suppress the most basic of instincts in our partner, which is their instinct to become attracted to attractive qualities in other people. The thing is, I believe we hang around people that we find attractive. It may be physically attractive. Sometimes we may be attracted to their brain and their intelligence. Other times it's the way they handle themselves. I don't think that it's realistic to assume that we'll never be attracted to qualities in anyone else other than our partner. But what I do believe is that it has no bearing on our loyalty. Our loyalty is something that we exercise when we're in a relationship and has nothing to do with the friendships that we have. In other words, you can go out and choose friends who subconsciously, even though you won't admit it, there may be some level of attraction with. You might be attracted to something in that person. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to do anything about it. It just means that that's why you chose them in the first place as a friend, is that you were attracted to something about them. Doesn't mean that you want them over your partner. If your partner has a friendship with someone else, it doesn't mean that they want that person over you. The idea of debating friendships between men and women in terms of is there attraction or isn't there attraction, I think is kind of a naive and childish way to look at it. Of course there's some attraction in many friendships that are just friendships. Of course there is. We'd be crazy and naive to assume otherwise. The question isn't, can men and women be friends? The question is, are they willing to just be friends? Your partner's loyalty isn't defined by how many people they are not attracted to. Your partner's loyalty is defined by the amount of people they can be attracted to and still be loyal to you, still be in the relationship, still be faithful. That to me is what loyalty is truly about. There's no win, there's no award in someone never being attracted to other people. That just means that you're the only person in the world they're attracted to, and by default they're with you. If they could be attracted to many people and still choose you, that's genuine loyalty, because now they're sticking around by choice, not because they haven't found anything better. The way that I answered this when someone asked me last week, can men and women just be friends, is I said, if you can drink 10 shots of whiskey and at the end of those 10 shots, neither one of you attempts to sleep with the other person, yes, you can just be friends. That's not to say that there isn't any attraction between these two people. That is to say that even once they've lost their inhibitions, even once they're in a state of weakness where they could be vulnerable to doing something, if even then they make the decision that no, this is going to be platonic, there isn't going to be more between us, then you know that you have someone who really is just in a friendship. Whether it's you, whether it's your partner, whether it's anyone else. I stand by that test. Drink responsibly, my friends. What number is this, Jameson? If you like this video, go check out these two. We have the Ask Me Anything video, which I did very recently, and Will You Ever Find the One? Let me know what you think in the comments. Hi guys, Matthew here. I'm back again with a subject that I think is really going to touch a nerve for a lot of people. And that is, what do I do if my partner is really good friends with people from the opposite sex? You may even be saying, my partner's only friends are from the opposite sex. How do I deal with this? Or you may be in the situation where you say, my partner's best friend is of the opposite sex. I want to deal with this today because I know how tricky it can be to navigate, and I know how sensitive it can be when you're the person whose partner is really good friends with that other person and you're feeling vulnerable and threatened and left out of that situation. So let's discuss this today. By the way, if it gets a little noisy outside during this video, it's because this is the week of my cousin's wedding and I have family flying in from all over the world right now. So it's getting a little noisy downstairs, but I'll never miss the opportunity to make a video for you. I'm never gonna let you down. So let's jump right in. The first part of this is accepting that there is a difference in friendships between different sexes within the context of a relationship than your partner who's a guy having guy friends, right? There is a difference. Now people would say, no, there's no difference because my friendship with this person is completely platonic. There isn't any sexual attraction, so it's no different from me being friends with my girlfriends to be friends with this guy. A guy might argue the same. She's like one of my guy friends. But the reality is, there is a difference. There's a difference because there is possibility. And that possibility, whether it's a real threat or not, creates a threat in our minds. So understanding that there is a difference is what allows us to solve the problem effectively. Let's say you're a woman and your guy has a good friend who is a woman. It's incumbent on him to make you feel comfortable and to protect your ego. Protecting your ego is a big thing in relationships, and especially in a situation like that where it has the potential to make us insecure. If your partner wants that friendship to continue, they have to respect you enough, not just to behave, because that's a given, right? The fact that your partner needs to behave in that relationship and not cross a boundary is a given. But they need to respect you enough to protect you in the situation and to make you feel comfortable. There are two ways that this person can do this: transparency and involvement. If your guy wants to be more transparent, it's about actually letting you know what he's doing. If he is seeing her, going out to lunch with her, something like that, he needs to tell you that. If he's having texting conversations with her, being open about it, being honest about the fact that he's texting this person right now. The moment things start to become hidden, that's where problems arise. Because when something's hidden, you start to worry. Is there something he's not telling me? Is there something that he doesn't want me to find out? So transparency is really important, but involvement is also really important. It's no good him just being transparent about when he's seeing her or when he's on the phone to her and things like that. He also has to make an effort to involve you. Again, what creates problems is when someone tries to separate you, when they try and keep that part of their life clean from you being involved in it, or vice versa. And that's not always physically, by making sure that you all go out together. But if he gets a text from her, it's about saying, oh, Sarah just texted me this idea on blah, 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 and actually involving you in the conversation there, so that it's not like you're on the outside looking in, but you're in it with him. That's the responsibility of him in this situation. What you have to take on for yourself is this idea that whatever boundaries you create, whatever rules you create for what he can and cannot do, have to be able to endure over the long term. Take a long-term mindset, because there are always rules that we can create that feel good in the moment for us. If we say, you can't see that person, you can't talk to that person, you can't do this, you can't do that. When we set up rules like that, they may calm our own insecurities in the moment. But what they don't do is create a tenable situation for the future. And if you create a situation that isn't sustainable, rules that he can't stick to for a lifetime, you may feel okay now, but you're always going to be policing the borders of those rules. You're always going to be trying to make sure that he's not breaking them. You're micromanaging. And he's going to feel the need to rebel at some stage. And when someone feels the need to rebel because they have rules that are unsustainable, that's when they begin lying to you. That's when they begin breaking them behind your back. And look, who knows? You may have people you want to be friends with in the future, and you don't want them to have the same rules with you that you would have had for them in the past. So you have to think about that too. It's respecting your partner enough to say, okay, I'm okay with you being friends with this person, and maybe I'm even okay with you seeing this person or going out with this person, but there are certain lines. I can't tell you what those boundaries should be because they're individual. Even then, we might create a rule which we break ourselves. For example, I was talking to a couple, two friends of mine recently, and the woman in the relationship was saying, you know what, it's funny. One of my rules was he can be friends with someone as long as there's no history, as long as he's never hooked up with this person. She said, but then we go to a festival and I end up meeting the friend and I find out after having the most amazing day with her and realizing, oh my God, we could be the best of friends. She said, I found out later that they had actually hooked up. She said, but what happened was I was so comfortable with her and I'd become such great friends with her and had the potential to become even greater friends that it didn't bother me. It wasn't like they were going out on dates on their own. She said, I was always involved. When we went out, we all went out together. And she said, because of that, even though I know they have history, he makes me feel comfortable by protecting me and making sure that I don't have anything to worry about. And she's so close to me and we have such a great friendship that I just don't feel threatened by this. I like having this person in my life. So you can see how she had a rule, but it was overruled by the fact that there were special circumstances. So I don't want to create rules for you here about what's right and wrong. Where should your boundary be? You have to come at it from the perspective of respecting your partner, trusting them, because if you're with them, you have to trust them. Otherwise, don't be with them. And giving them the treatment that you yourself would like in the situation. You'll be insecure from time to time, but again, that's where it goes back to the other side, which is your partner protecting your ego and looking after you. And if right now, by the way, you're watching this video thinking, well, the problem is that my partner doesn't protect my ego. The problem is that my partner doesn't comfort me, they don't involve me, they're not transparent, then that's a conversation you have to have with your partner. To say, look, sometimes you've got to be honest with your partner. Sometimes this isn't about going some roundabout way with them. I know I have plenty of lines for you to use to discreetly put ideas in your partner's head and make sure that you communicate well, but sometimes communicating well is just being direct and saying to your partner, look, your job is to protect me. Your job is to be kind to me. And protecting me and making me feel good is making sure that I'm involved with this person in the same way that if I had a guy in my life that was just a friend, I would absolutely involve you. I would absolutely inform you in everything that was going on because I'd have nothing to hide, and I'd never ever want you to feel like you were on the outside looking in. And I don't want you to make me feel like I'm on the outside looking in. I know you wouldn't want to make me feel like that. You know, I know that you wouldn't intentionally make me feel this way, but I'm just telling you, this is how it's making me feel. And I don't want to come along and tell you can't be friends with someone. I don't want to be that woman. But at the same time, I want to respect myself. And I feel like me respecting myself isn't allowing this situation to happen without me feeling like I'm a part of it and that I'm as important. And it's as important to you to involve me as it is to remain friends with her. So there are some nice ways to come at it directly, but at the end of the day, again, I'll boil it down to two things. Your partner protecting your ego by making you feel involved and being transparent, and you creating a set of boundaries and rules that are sustainable in the relationship and are kind to your partner, not just rules that are there to eliminate your insecurity or, dare I say it, neurosis in certain cases. So that's it. Tough topic right there, but I think it's important. I know they're difficult waters to navigate, but if we talk about them and we're open about them and we discuss these ideas, we might get a little closer to getting what we want from our relationships and being comfortable and not feeling under the constant threat of someone else coming in. Have an amazing week, guys. Lovely to be back with you again. I'll see you in the next video. Steve, to switch gears, I'm going on the Michaela Peterson podcast today, and I can't wait because Michaela is, I think she's really, really interesting. I think that her story is fascinating. What she's dealt with in her life is fascinating. I am extraordinarily excited about the conversation. Mm-hmm. In my research, I watched her, Russell Brand, and her father, Jordan Peterson, all together talking, and they got into the subject of children, and Jordan Peterson said quite a bold statement, which, as we all know, Jordan Peterson is not known for. But he said, I don't think that anyone can truly grow up until they have kids. What are your thoughts on that statement? Because I heard that, and instinctively, given that I think people don't necessarily realize this about us, but we have spent probably more time with women going through issues around their biological clock and the possibility of not having kids when that was in their blueprint. It was something they wanted more than anything in the world, and maybe they don't get to have them. Maybe they don't meet someone in time. Maybe there are complications they didn't anticipate. But we have dealt with so many of those issues that when I heard that, instinctively, I sort of went, oh, that's a big statement. But I also completely understand the sentiment of it. I understand where it's coming from, and perhaps someone with kids would say, but Matt, you can't truly understand until you've had kids. I always love that Family Guy joke where Brian has suddenly realizes he's got a kid. And he starts saying to Stewie, like, when you have children, you will understand. Like, he suddenly becomes so patronizing, annoying to be around, because it's like the rest of the world doesn't understand anymore. He's suddenly transferred into a world where there's something he understands that the rest of the world doesn't, that doesn't have kids. Which there is a bit of that. I think we should talk about that at some point. But what do you think of that statement?
Well, far be it from me to venture my opinion against a world-renowned psychologist. But
well, I think your opinion is valid, Stephen.
Sure. I mean, I don't have kids, so that it's a dimension of life that isn't available to me yet. So I can only sort of pontificate. I think I'm not sure, because I feel like there are so many areas of life where if you haven't experienced them yet, there's a level of maturity and understanding that is just closed to you. Maybe if you've never been, he's talking about growing up. And it's like, well, maybe if you've never had a job, you've never really been grown up. Maybe if you've never paid your own taxes, you're not grown up. Maybe if you've never had to support anyone, you've never grown up. And, when you're in a relationship, you feel like, oh man, God, before I was in a relationship, I really didn't understand what love actually was, or what it is to actually have to manage other people's needs as well as my own, right? You're used to living your own selfish single life. So I am well prepared to accept that there is a whole sphere of life that is unknown to you until you have kids. And lots of parents say to you, my God, I never knew how much it really takes. Or they say, I never knew my capacity to love until they had kids. And that I'm perfectly prepared to take them on their word for that. Maturity, though, is a multifaceted thing, isn't it? Because some people never mature in certain ways, even with children. And there's ways they stay completely immature and reckless and kids. I mean, in a negative sense, not the having a lovely innocent sense, but in being naive and immature. There's ways that people never mature in all sorts of ways. So I'm kind of reticent. In some ways, it's like, yes, I can totally see that, but I'm also reticent to put too much weight on that compared to 100 other ways you can be totally immature and, foolish, if you like, and irresponsible, right? There can be people with children who are extremely irresponsible.
I suppose the idea is that you can't ever truly be unselfish if you don't have children. But the truth of that idea aside, I suppose where it takes my mind, because that's the world, this is the world we live in, my lens a lot of the time is, how would that statement, how would that thought affect people in situations over which they may have no control? There is a kind of, culturally, I'm still fascinated by the assumptions that are made about success based on relationship status, marital status, whether you have kids, and it's quite easy, I've experienced as a man people who, at certain points in my life when I've been single, the assumption is, well, why aren't you in a relationship? And you can feel there's a tone to that question. And of course, women feel this to an incredible degree. I feel it, and perhaps you, Stephen, feel it to an incredible degree, I suppose, from a professional pressure that sometimes people put on us. Like you should be in a relationship if you're doing what you're doing, which I don't actually agree with, because I don't think, that being in a relationship is a personal choice, and it should be based on
on the person in front of you and whether you want to be in a relationship, as opposed to just the desire to be in any relationship, regardless of who it's with, so that you can say you're in a relationship. I think that a relationship, should be like a kind of a dream career path. You do it because you feel compelled to do it by having found something that you really love doing, as opposed to feeling like you just should, no matter what, just choose any old thing and do it because you feel pressure to go to an office every day.
And this is what I reject, by the way. I reject the over ascribing of some special status to relationship, children. People can choose them things for really, really bad reasons. And that's where I reject the idea that someone is further ahead because they got married and had kids. It's like some people could have done that in a completely ludicrous, foolish way that suggests complete immaturity. So that's where I reject the societal idea that there's a continuum of immaturity from single to maturity to children and relationship. I think that's I have issues with that. Because I think people make bad I think people make bad choices when that is seen as just an essential, necessary stepping stone, or even just it's always applauded.
Yeah, I mean, life. More simply, I think life comes down to choices. Christopher Hitchens said, in life you have to choose your regrets, right? And and whatever you do, you're missing out on something. That's just always true. You're always, if you're single, you're going to be missing out on the experience of, having, you get to the evening and you want to, I don't know, veg out with someone that you don't have to entertain, or someone that you love and feel connected to, and you just want to watch a movie. Then you might be missing out on that. You might have a casual thing or something in its place, but it's not going to be the same. If you're in a relationship or you have kids, then it's going to be much harder to go around the world and travel, or to do other things that you might want to do, or to get the solitude that you might crave at times. Like there is just always going to be something you're missing out on. It is, I suppose, an interesting conversation. Perhaps Jordan Peterson would argue that there is just in the hierarchy of lives well lived, that having kids is the kind of the pinnacle of that. But that's an interesting argument. And I think that to me, there's peak experiences in life. And having children is a peak experience. It's one of those it's like one of the most incredible things I believe a human could ever experience in life. But I come from a world, and I suppose from a coaching philosophy, that wherever you are, whatever situation you're in life, it's about making the absolute most of your situation. It's whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're going to have your own biological kids, whether you're going to adopt if you can't have your own biological kids, or even if you can, but you just decide that adoption is more meaningful for you as a kind of narrative, as a story, it has more meaning. I believe in making the most of wherever you're at. And sometimes when I hear certain statements, it's a kind of value statement in itself that says this is unequivocally the highest thing that you can do, and that there is no other. It's like saying there's only one path to enlightenment. There aren't many routes there. So yeah, I'm kind of fascinated by this, because I worry about the pressure put on people in general. I worry about the pressure people feel to be in a relationship. I worry about especially women. I worry about the pressure they feel to be in a relationship, or the shame that they sometimes feel for not having found someone, or the low self-worth and confidence that comes from not having found someone, so much of which is projected onto them by other people. And then if enough people at the dinner table say, how come you're still single? Why haven't you met anyone yet? Or doesn't life feel meaningless without having found a relationship or having had a family? Or the more people say that, the more it becomes a kind of a brainwashing that you feel compelled to believe. And then you feel deficient in your life. Even if life's going pretty well for you, even if, a relationship could be a month from now around the corner. You could meet someone a month from now or 6 months from now or a year from now, and your life could completely change. And that's great. But I hate the idea that in the meantime, people think that their lives somehow count for less or are worth less because they haven't found that thing.
Well, yeah, and you can be responsible for others in so many ways, right? And in some ways, that might be one of the things, if I'm speculating, that Jordan Peterson is talking about there, where one move to maturity is being responsible for others outside of yourself. And you can do that in many ways, but I'm more like emotionally libertarian, where I think people can make sacrifice and take responsibility in many, many different ways in life. And clearly marriage and kids is one of the most obvious and most clear ways to do that. But I think there are other ways to do that. And I think you and I, through years of coaching as well, have just seen so many people who have been self-torturing, thinking they should stay with the wrong guy because of family pressure, because of religious pressure, because of outside judgment, and stay with the wrong person, and they feel guilt and shame. And that's where I think, man, this belief could be dangerous if people just think they failed because they are not moving towards that right now. And that's my fear of people just being shoved into relationships and responsibilities that are wrong for them.
Well, we've come to the end of the video. Did you like it? No, I mean, really, did you hit the like button? Or did you just sit there? Please like the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, join the club, and hit the notification bell so that the next time a video is coming out, I can stalk you with it. There are amazing guys everywhere. We have to have a way of meeting them. Now, think of it like this. As a woman, you don't want to be running up to guys out of nowhere. But there are ways of doing it. There are ways of making it really simple. And what women forget is that women have been doing this for a long time. Women have been doing this for a long time. Women think that women don't make the move. They do. They do. And even the women who look like they don't make the move are making the move. Think of it like this. We're in the olden days. A woman walks past a man that she likes, and as she walks past him, knowing that she likes him, she drops her handkerchief. And then she keeps walking. And the guy sees the handkerchief, and he says, "This is an extraordinary opportunity to be a man." He picks up the handkerchief, he walks it over, and he says, "Ma'am, I believe you dropped this." And now they have a conversation. Now he, in his male mind, thinks he did that. He thinks he did that. He thinks he made the move. He didn't. She did. She chose him. Now, I don't know when women stopped doing that, but they did. They stop choosing the guys they want and they wait to be chosen. And it drives me freaking crazy because they wonder why they always end up with the guys they don't want. It's because they wait to be chosen. Now imagine a scenario where we wait to be chosen and how likely that makes it that we're going to meet the guy we've always wanted. Women don't do any other things in their lives like that. Like, women kick ass. They go and kick ass in every area of their lives. They kick ass at work. They go out, they get the job they want, they get the promotion they want, they start their business, they're powerful, they do stuff. Every other part of their life. Women don't go shopping like that. They don't walk into a department store and stand there and go, now I'll just wait for the right dress to come to me. It doesn't happen like that. What do? They walk in and they choose. They start shuffling through racks. They find something, no, throw it away. Find something, throw it away. Find something, throw it away. They take 10 things to the changing rooms. They try it on, no. And then they find one, they like it, they buy it. They kick ass. And yet, in their love lives, it's like they become completely different people. It's like the one area of their lives where they wait. And it's so tragic because they deserve more than half the guys that are coming up to them. But the problem is, if we're always waiting for people to do something, we're constantly choosing from the select pool of guys that come up to you, instead of the entire buffet of guys that is out there. Women who come, like, we run weekends where intensely I take people through an entire process. I take people through a process where they don't just learn everything from start to finish, but they literally get to a point where they can go out and they can make stuff happen. They go out and they make stuff happen that evening. It's crazy. And they will come in the next day and they will say that it's suddenly, this area of my life is like a buffet. Like, I can go out and I can just choose who it is I want instead of waiting to be chosen. Hi guys, it's Matthew. I'm backstage right now at the Meredith Vieira show, which is a show on NBC Daytime. I've done the show a couple of times now. They keep inviting me back. And since I have Jameson with me in New York right now, I thought I'd film something for you that I don't normally get to do. I'm in the dressing room right now. Every week of my life, when I go out and do media appearances, or when I step out on stage in front of 1,000 people or 2,000 people in a live seminar, I just did one for Cosmopolitan where we were in front of 2,000 people at the Lincoln Center in New York. Whenever I do this, it's all about performing under pressure. It's all about being able to deliver at a high level in a very intense situation. And you don't always have another chance to deliver in those situations. Sometimes you really have to nail it there and then in order to get given another opportunity that is like that one. Now, you may not be going on TV tomorrow, but you may have an interview coming up. You may have some things you want to do this year that mean that you have to deliver under pressure, whether it's approaching a guy or confronting a boss or just talking in public. Maybe you have to give a speech somewhere and you're not used to it. Maybe you have to pitch to somebody or in front of a boardroom. We all have situations in life where it's essential that we have personal impact. And I want to make sure that you have everything you need to be able to do that. So while I'm backstage here and I have a few minutes before I go out there live, I wanted to give you 3 tips that I use every single time before I go and do an interview, before I step out on stage. First, know why it is what you're about to say is so important. Know why it's important that you do this. So for example, right now I'm going to go out there and talk about a woman who's been on a date, and I'm going to have to stress why first dates are so important. Now, why is a first date so important? Because it's your advertisement for a second date, a third date, and a fourth date. If you want to get married to somebody, you have to get past the first date. So no matter how much we don't like bragging about ourselves, no matter how much we don't like that initial awkwardness of getting past the small talk to getting to know somebody, no matter how nervous we may be, that first date is crucial, because if we don't master that, we're not getting any further anyway. So for anyone who says first dates don't matter or it's not that important or just do whatever, don't worry about it, doesn't know what they're talking about. First dates are everything. They're the gateway to the love of your life. So if I go in knowing that, I already now am put in a certain emotional state where I go, this is important. The audience, the people who are going to be watching this show across the country and across the world, they need to know what I'm about to say. Step 2 is actually make a list of the essential points that you'd like to make. Now, writing a full script doesn't always work. Okay, I'm going to start point 2 again because someone literally just came knocking to tell us we're going to go live in a few minutes. So we're doing this under pressure right now. Point number 2 is I want you to make a list of the essential points that you need to say. So for example, me and Jameson was sat here a minute ago. I'll just pull up the file. Seating position is important, touch is important, tone is important. She wasn't using sexually charged language. I've written down a few points now. There's much more I could say. Right? That this is far from everything I could say when I get out there in the live studio. But what I want in my head are just some of the really essential points. And that's the same with a sales pitch. That's the same with going on stage. It's the same with a public speech. You'd be far better if you were giving a speech at a wedding, just thinking about the essential points you want to make and then worrying more about how you want to say them. Because how you're going to say it when you're up there is going to communicate everything. Now, the third thing is to be flexible. In other words, when you get out there, when you go into that high pressure situation, an interview, a speech, approaching a guy, whatever it is, you have to be prepared for the fact that the situation might take you completely off-road and force you to say things on the spot that you hadn't prepared for, or to answer questions you hadn't prepared for. So you have to be nimble. You know, when a water skier is behind the boat, you don't stand up straight and lock your knees, because then when you hit a wave, you don't know, you're going to be thrown off balance, you're not going to be flexible. What you need is to bend your knees so that they're like springs, so that no matter what, when you're on those waves and it gets a little choppy, you can deal with whatever waves come along. Don't go in there with the expectation that everything is going to go the way that you planned, because rarely does it. It's one thing to be good at whatever it is you do, whether it's your job or to just be a good person, to work on your personality, but it's another thing to be able to present what you have in a really dynamic and amazing way. We all know that there are people who don't get what they deserve in life because they have no idea how to market themselves. And I have to be out there marketing myself every single week. And I can tell you right now that the majority of my success has come, A, from working hard, but B, from knowing how to put my best foot forward in life, in any situation, socially, publicly, in my work life, with family, understanding human dynamics and understanding how to maximize my influence in every situation. That was why, by the way, towards the end of last year, Stephen, my brother, when he heard me on Elvis Duran, one of the biggest radio shows in the United States, he wrote a document about the first 5 minutes that I was on that show, because he said, in the first 5 minutes, you won over the room. And for the rest of the interview, it was easy because you were so dynamic in the first 5 minutes that you conquered that room. And he wrote a document detailing everything I did in those first 5 minutes. And it was kind of an expose, because he said a lot of things that at the time I didn't really want said publicly, because it was kind of personal to me. And some of these were almost like, for me, Jedi mind tricks that I used that I didn't want out there in public. And then he asked my permission to release this document that he'd written. So if you didn't see that, by the way, it still exists. You can go and get it. It's very, very compelling and interesting. We had people writing us essays on what it did for them in their life and how it completely changed. They approached every situation and the first 5 minutes of how dynamic and influential they are, whether it was an argument, whether it was going and talking to someone they were attracted to, whether it was an interview or a speech, it completely changed the game for them. So if you want to find that, go to howtogettheguy.com/behind the curtain. Okay, because this is behind the curtain of what I do in everyday life to have influence. Go out there this year and take risks. Be uncomfortable. Go and do things that scare you a little bit. If you're afraid of public speaking, go do it. If you're afraid of talking to that attractive person over there and even just paying them a compliment, go do it. Do not hold back this year. This is a new year, 2015. I want to do this right. I'm out here right now doing it. I do things that scare me all the time. This right now, I'm about to go on. They're going to be knocking any second now to take me into hair and makeup, put, these clothes on me and send me out there to perform in front of this audience. I'm nervous, right? I always get nervous, but where I don't get nervous like I did when I was a teenager and I was petrified and used to freeze. If you know, I know some of you know what that is, when you get so nervous you get paralyzed and you can't do anything. I used to have that. What got me over that and what got me to be able to manage these situations is because I learned how to be competent in having influence and having great delivery. And that's something that I really want to pass on to you, and I want to pass on everything that I've learned. So I'm here with you, I'm in the trenches, I'm doing this right now all across the world, mastering impact, and I'm getting there step by step, and I'm going to keep passing you all of my secrets along the way. But stay with me and do it with me. Make yourself uncomfortable this year. Use the 3 tips I gave you in this video and go and download that guide now. howtogettheguide.com/behind the curtain. And let me know how you get on. I'll see you soon, guys.
Thank you so much.
That a good man is hard to find, and then there's the question of once you find him, how do you keep him? Well, in an effort to help you find and keep love in 2015, we've called on the ultimate love expert. He's smart, he's savvy. Just too bad he's not very good looking, but other than that, time for a segment we call Help Me Hussey. Please welcome Matthew Hussey. Okay, Matthew, we need some help today. In your opinion, what's the biggest thing people do wrong on a first date?
The holidays are a time of year where one can feel somewhat alone. It may well be that your expectations for where your love life was going to be by this time of year haven't happened. And sometimes when that happens, it produces resentment, frustration, anger, sadness, hopelessness, all things that hurt our chances of being happy and make us less attractive in general. Gratefulness is one of the great ways to be happy. I want to issue us together a challenge today. What is it that we can be truly thankful for, truly grateful for, either from the last year or from the past in our lives? And it doesn't even have to be great stuff. It doesn't have to be something that was obviously a good thing. Maybe there was a guy who treated you badly. Maybe you went on a date with a guy that sucked, or you realized didn't respect women, or just wasn't a kind person. And maybe you think, well, what can I be grateful for in that? Maybe in that case, you get grateful for all of the great guys that do exist. Maybe you get grateful that there are good and kind men out there. Maybe this wasn't one of them, but there are. You know, I always think, look, we have brothers, we have fathers, we have sons, we have people around us that if we look around, we see the good in men. Maybe you get grateful because when you meet one who isn't so good, all it does is remind you of how great the guys that are great really are. See, you can become pro at this. If you really know how to change any situation and see the good in it, you know there's nothing that can beat you in life, because you'll always find the positive in any scenario. And that ultimately is what's going to make us so attractive. If we want to find the love of our lives, if we want to have an incredible love life, we attract the best people by being happy people. And happy people are thankful people. So leave us a comment. Tell us what you're thankful for. And as a special treat, I'm going to have my team say what they're thankful for too. Enjoy and happy holidays from me and everybody on my team.
I'm thankful for my 2 sons. Ladies, I am raising them to treat women right.
I'm incredibly grateful for music. Without it, well, I'd probably have to figure out how to actually decorate my house.
I'm thankful for these guys. Go Cubs, go!
I am thankful for each and every member of the Get the Guy family.
I'm thankful for changing jobs to one I really, really love, all the friends and family who helped me self-publish a book this summer, and my super duper lovey fluffy cat.
I'm thankful that we work in a place where we help people find love every day.
So this year I am thankful for all the opportunities that I earned, and I had some big wins and some losses, but I am thankful that I got to bring myself to the table each and every time, regardless of the outcome.
So I'm thankful for an old friend who has been there for me this year, really helped me with my work, always there for a conversation. It's the cup of tea.
There were so many things to be thankful for this year, like family and friends and Beyonce's Lemonade.
I'm thankful for the fact that there are just too many things to be thankful for this year to be able to narrow it down to just one.
I am thankful for realizing dreams do come true.
I'm grateful for my brothers, aka these suckers.
Huh? Oh, hi.
I'm grateful to work at a company that lets me do my 3 favourite things in the world, which are learning, writing, and coming up with ideas all day.
I'm thankful that noticing the small things in life can make you happy.
I am thankful that I never have a bad hair day.
I'm thankful Matt has finally decided to let me have a bigger voice on this YouTube channel. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Be yourself. Seems like good advice, right? That's actually what makes this advice so insidious, is that on the surface it feels like it's helpful and it makes us feel kind of warm and fuzzy inside when someone says be yourself. In truth, it rarely helps. When someone says be yourself, very often all it does is give us validation for the idea that we should stay the same and not take risks, not try new things, not learn in areas where we're currently not competent. We use it as an excuse to stay the same. It's a polite way of saying, be who you are now. Don't explore being more evolved, more advanced, new versions of you. If I said to you right now, be yourself, you wouldn't necessarily know what to do today. If I asked you, would you even know who you are? Because be yourself implies you even know who you are. Many of us, when we think about who we are, we look in the rearview mirror. We look at who we've been in the past. And not necessarily even who we've been on a core level. We look at the habits we've had. We look at what we've done. What are our behaviors? And I don't think that our behaviors and our habits are who we are. We should never confuse who we are at our core with the behaviors that we've adopted over time. Those are external. Those are things that we just do. Now, everything in some way or another is part of who we are, but there's always another layer. Maybe a layer that of a part of ourselves that we haven't experienced in a long time, or maybe a part of ourselves that we've never experienced because we've never driven ourselves in that way. We find out who we are by having new experiences, new adventures, by trying things, figuring out what we don't like, by reacting to a situation in a way that we later feel guilty for or resent ourselves for or feel frustrated about. And that tells us more about the type of person that we really want to be. But we only know that when we take chances. When we try new things, that's what tells us who we really are. If someone had kept telling me, be yourself, be yourself, be yourself, I never would have stepped on stage and started public speaking because I was terrified of that thing and I thought that I didn't enjoy it. But once I started to get good at that thing, I started to really adopt it as part of me. I like performing. We have to always be questioning who we think we are. When did I decide that I was that thing? And is it really true? Could I be something else? I kind of think people have to stop sitting there trying to figure out, trying to discover who they are and start designing who they want to be. People sit there and they meditate and meditate and meditate. They go on journeys to try and discover themselves. Figure out who you want to be. More to the point, figure out the goals that you have. What are the goals that I have and what type of person do I need to be to achieve those goals, to achieve the things that I want to achieve in my life? That's a much more practical question than sitting there trying to discover nonstop who we are. And the next time someone tells you to be yourself, really think about it for a moment and ask yourself seriously, am I choosing the route I'm choosing because it's really who I am? Or am I saying this is who I am in order to avoid something I'm afraid of? Something maybe I'm not good at yet, but could get good at if I stepped out of my comfort zone. So keep taking risks, guys. Keep messing around with who you are. Keep trying new things and dabbling in different ideas and personality traits and come to that conclusion yourself by the experiences you have in your life. Take care, my friends. If you want to hear more about this type of stuff, if you're really enjoying the depth of this, the retreats that I do this year are the place where we really get into this because that's where we go deep and we really figure out what we want in our lives and where we're going. I have just one retreat left this year that's not sold out. That's in November in Florida. If you want to find out more, check out the link below. Otherwise, keep an eye out for the next video. Take care, my friends. I'll see you soon. So many of you come to this channel for more than just love advice. You like applying these principles on human dynamics to your relationships in general. Many of you want to just become better with people or more confident. And so today I thought I'd do something a little different. I want to take 5 secrets for charisma that I have learned over the last decade of being on TV and apply them to your everyday life. And by the way, stay till the end of this video because I have something extra special to tell you about. Let's get started. So number 1, be in the room. Before I go and do a TV segment, I'll often think about what I want to say. I'll think about some stories or some answers to questions so that when I get there, I know what I have locked and loaded and ready to say. But the problem with being too focused on that plan is that you miss sometimes what's actually going on in the room. And it's the same way when you're on a date or when you're in a conversation. If you are so focused on what you want to say next that you're not actually actually listening to what they're saying, the tone, the inflection, you might actually miss the most important part. You might miss the moment, the throwaway line in the middle of a sentence where they alluded to something they were particularly passionate about, and you only know that because their eyes lit up in that moment. That's a signal for you to focus on that thing. But if you're thinking about what you're going to say next, you miss that moment. Number 2, talk about what you care about. The greatest way to make up for a lack of eloquence or fluidity in what you're saying is simply to talk about something you're actually passionate about. When I go on TV, I think of what is the heart of this that I really care about. Forget the logical point I'm trying to make. What's the heart of it? Because if I understand what the emotional core of it is, if I understand why it's important to me, now I'm going to talk with a different energy. And I think that's what's lacking sometimes when we speak at a dinner party or when we're at a social event or on a date, is that we spend so much time worrying about small talk that we don't actually spend time thinking about what we want to talk about, what actually matters to us. And if we do that, a different level of passion and energy is going to come across. Number 3, find a way to relate. When I'm on TV, I'm often speaking with people who are from different worlds, who have vastly different jobs to me, and I may know nothing about their world or their experience, but I might know something about the feelings they experience, because feelings are universal. And this is true in life in general. We're sometimes on a date with someone whose job we don't understand or we don't have any experience of, or who likes a sport that we're not into. I may not be interested in the sport you play, but if I understand what your relationship with that sport is, why you love it, what feeling it gives you, or why you're energized by it, I might actually find that there's something that, wow, that's the same as the way I relate to this thing in my life. Number 4, disagree with poise. I am often put in a situation on TV where the whole idea is for me to disagree with someone.
These 2 relationship experts are about to go head-to-head in a battle of the art of dating.
They'll put me on a panel with someone they know is going to have a different point of view to me. I've always learned from some of the best debaters in the world that the ones that have the most power are the ones that can disagree with a level of charm, with a level of wit. They had this way of disagreeing with someone and making their point, but also giving you the impression that they weren't about to lose sleep over it that night. And we all know these people at a dinner party who can't affectionately or charmingly disagree on anything or debate on things. Instead, they'll ruin the whole dinner party over a conversation where they get heated and they lose their cool, and now it's awkward. If you want to have real charisma, have the ability to charmingly disagree with someone without investing all of your emotional self into the game. Number 5, there is no substitute for stage time. Part of my comfort in the media world comes from the fact that I've done it before many times. If you want to be good on a date, going on dates and getting some practice dates in helps. If you want to tell better stories, tell more stories or tell the same story more times. If you want to be great in conversation, have more conversations. There is no substitute for getting out there and doing the thing that you want to practice when it comes to human dynamics. Now, you may be watching this thinking you want to have more charisma. You want to get out there and get your stage time. Well, I have something really cool for you today, because I'm a big believer in not just telling you something, but showing it to you as well, because that's when you really get it. So allow me to show you this. I have a recording of me on a major radio show, Z100's Elvis Duran show. And on that show, in the first 5 minutes, I applied everything I know about making a charismatic impact. I want you to listen to that interview and hear what I did. And just in case you miss any of the nuance of what I do in that interview, my brother Steven,
hey guys,
has written a free guide called The First 5, where he breaks down step by step everything I do so that you can take those things and apply them to everyday situations with people in your life. So download the guide. It is absolutely free. And by the way, it's also one of my most popular guides I've ever released because I think it's so universal. People can use it everywhere. And I think people like seeing me practicing what I preach and actually doing all of the things that I'm talking about. So check it out, download the guide, and I will see you on the inside.
So I just got back from a weekend in Zion National Park with a very special group of people as part of my Club 320 program. And there was a moment in this weekend that I thought would speak to a lot of people out there. Cara, one of my group, talked about the self-esteem issues that she had that led to a 10-year narcissistic, abusive relationship that she is still struggling to heal from. We talk about her healing and how she can learn to forgive herself for the time that she spent in that relationship, which is something she has been struggling to do. Cara kindly and bravely offered for us to release this video. Thank you, Cara, for being vulnerable enough to share your story. And I think you're gonna get a lot out of it. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification bell so that the next time I release a video, you get notified. And without further ado, I present to you Cara from Club 320.
Can we sit together on the floor across from each other in the middle of the circle?
I'm quite happy to sit on the floor.
You've already helped me with the first thing, which is just knowing that I could ask for something from a man and have him care enough about me to give that. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
The story that I have about myself is that I'm not lovable and that I'm not likable just as I am, that I'm only lovable for what I can do for other people. I'm still trying to figure out who I am. Oh, God, this is hard. And trying to figure out who's the real me, right? So not the former college athlete me, not the mom me, not the hard worker me, and not the trauma survivor me. So my question to you is, how do I release the shame that I feel, find my true self, and step authentically into that in front of others and show up in a fearless way with my real self?
What is the shame you feel?
I felt shame, I think, ever since I was a kid. So my brother committed suicide when I was 6 in our house. My family basically fell apart, and no one was there for me to deal with my pain as I was dealing with that. He was my best friend. And then I felt like I had to perform for love for my dad, and that was the only way I really got his attention. And then I ended up in a 10-year relationship with a narcissist who I have 2 kids with. I feel shame about all of those things. I feel proud of myself for leaving, but I feel shame for having stayed for as long as I did.
So, thank you. You were a child. Who had nowhere to take that emotion, had no guidance. Do you realize a child needs, in order for that situation not to be something that they spend many years trying to process and deal with in unproductive ways, needs amazing guidance. You didn't just not get amazing guidance. You had really bad support, completely absent support. More than that, this invalidation. I'm not allowed to process this. I can't deal with this. But you're a child. So let's keep that part really simple. You were a child. Since then, you have been doing the best you could every step of the way.
that shame that you feel, there are accidents that happen all the time that people can't predict. That they look back on, if I have only just not left the door open of the house, if I'd have only just not, left my kids for 5 minutes in that situation, there are situations like that every single day. And it's just, we're lucky it wasn't us that day. Should they all feel shame? No. We do shit. We're human beings. We do shit. You got into a relationship. And every step of the way in that relationship, you did the best you could in that relationship. And the best you could for a long time wasn't being strong enough to leave. Because you didn't have the tools, you didn't have the resources, you didn't have the DNA, you didn't have the childhood, you didn't have a whole cocktail of things that would have made it possible for you to leave 5 years sooner. So for you, something really drastic had to happen, and that was a wake-up call. That doesn't deserve shame. It requires compassion. You have done the best you could. And guess what? Today's best is better than yesterday's best. And that's exciting. It's exciting. So there's a story you're telling yourself. There's a story you're telling yourself. And that story is actually getting in the way of your true nature. It's getting in the way of who you can really be. And I honestly, the whole who am I thing, I don't know how productive that is. Because who are any of us? What are we? Just a kind of composite of things we've gotten good at, books we've read, memories, stuff we've done in our lives. We could have been a completely different composite if we just read a different book or been called a different name or grown up somewhere different. I don't know that that's as interesting to me as what you can do and the peace that you can feel if you actually let go of this attachment to this identity you formed to yourself and to your story. Because you've been beating yourself up for a long time. I know that. I've spent my lifetime beating myself up. So has my mom. We're fucking pros at it. And it's my journey has been the same as yours. What do I do to stop doing that? Well, firstly, I realized that so much of me beating myself up is just another story. I can wake up today and I can be whoever I want to be. I can show up however I want to show up. What if I let go of that baggage? And maybe instead of trying to discover who I am, what if I just made it my mission this year to find peace within myself? I'm just going to find peace within myself. And then I'm going to see what I feel like creating from that place of peace. I'm going to see what I feel like doing from that place of peace. I'm going to see what kind of relationships I'm interested in from that place of peace. Because what you'll find is what you choose to do, create, who you choose to spend time with, will be completely different from that place of peace than they will be from this place of shame. Completely different life comes from that.
Will that help me feel like I can be more myself and feel more lovable and feel more like I can show up in relationships authentically?
What does it mean to show up authentically?
To not be second guessing what I need to be for everybody else. To just be like, this is who I am. Take it or leave it.
Yes. But who are you? I don't know. I wake up every day and I know that I want to try to be the best person I can be, right? I mess up all the time. I get agitated too easily, or I get anxious and I make a mistake, or all of those things happen. But every day I wake up and I try to just connect to what does the most loving Matthew want? How does he want to show up? How does he want to treat people? And every day I'm looking for, is this thing coming from ego and insecurity and greed and
and fear, or is it just coming from love? How would I show up right now if I was just coming from a place of love? Love for myself and love for other people. How would I show up from that state? And I don't think you need to worry about discovering who you are. I think you need to worry about losing the shame and reconnecting to how does Cara show up when she's actually just coming from a place of love? That's going to be the difference. Not from insecurity, not from I'm trying to feel whole by getting somebody else, or I'm trying to get validated by having someone want me, or how do I show up if I'm just coming from a place of peace and love? It's a very different thing. And I don't want you to be preoccupied with this discovery, because I do think it's kind of a red herring. I think the issue is that you right now you're identifying too much with all of this. You're not your mistakes. Your mistakes arose out of parts of you that were trying to get their needs met. You're not those mistakes. Right? The parts of us that are trying to get their needs met can create a lot of problems in our life. Right? But what was behind those things wasn't bad, it wasn't evil. It was just something was trying to be okay. Something was trying to be heard. A need was trying to get met. And you were doing your best in that moment with the tools you had. That's it. We don't have to think any more about it than that. Now what we have to do is start you giving yourself the things that all along you've been trying to get from everybody else. I don't want to be defined by who I am now in this room, a speaker, a coach, or whatever. I don't want to be defined by those things, because all I'm doing is that who I am? Not really. If I do that, then I'm just defining myself by what you all think of me at the end of the day. That's my worth now. Well, what if I have a bad day? My worth plummets because you all think less of me today? That can't be it. What you do isn't who you are. So you don't need to figure out, what do I do in life that's who I am, or whatever. It's just right now losing the shame and going into the next day of your life from a much more peaceful place. Can't keep looking backwards. We've got too much to do now, right? We've actually got stuff to do. And I know I'm... Last thing. Why are we sitting on the floor?
Partly because I wanted to be closer to you.
Great.
And have better eye contact, and partly because I felt like if I was on the floor, I felt more safe.
Okay.
So, I wasn't gonna pass out or something. So.
But there was also another element you said. That if you could ask for something and it be given to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that thing that you wanted given to you, that had to be you giving it to you. Right? What if I'd said no?
Yeah, I would have had a hard time with that.
You would have had a hard time? So then I own you.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Then I own you. Because what you're saying is, I have complete power over you. I don't even need to fucking move. In fact, I can sit exactly where I am in that chair and have complete power over you and your emotions. I don't want to have that power over you. I don't want you to give me that kind of power. I don't want you to give anyone that kind of power, because if that's the case, you'll go to the next relationship seeing if he'll do the thing that you need him to do so that you can feel okay.
And that's what I've done in all my relationships.
Right.
Pretty much all my life.
Right. I just need you to text me back in the next hour so that I know that I'm okay. Right? That, whatever that was that you wanted from me, that's the thing you have to give to yourself. Right? I needed to know that if you sat here with me, that would make me feel safe, because it would make me feel like I could get someone to do something. That cannot be where your safety comes from. It has to come from you saying, what's the safety I'm looking for outside of myself in the first place? What's the validation I'm looking for outside of myself in the first place? How do I start giving that to myself? And you'll have examples of it because you'll know that there are people in this room who have made huge mistakes in their life. And you don't think that discounts them from a life where they receive love. You don't think they should forever live in shame for their mistakes, right?
Right.
So what makes you so special? That you should just be a shame ball for the rest of your life? Where's the exceptionalism for you? Doesn't make sense. You're a human in this room. We're all just humans in this room. You're another one. Why does it make sense you would treat you worse? And I don't know if you've read my new book.
I did.
But the whole point is we're all just humans. But the only difference is your job isn't to look after these humans for the rest of your life or to make them happy for the rest of your life. But your job is to do that for you. The only thing that's really different about you is that you're the one who has that job. So, time to start doing that job. Cara, thank you. I really enjoyed this interaction.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Well, I think community is this ingredient that we get to foster in our lives. And if we build a strong community with like-minded people, if we find our people and we form real, authentic bonds with those people, then it becomes this great ingredient in our life. What I love about this is that Club 320, no matter what, they have these connections that they've formed with each other. Thank you so much for watching. Leave me a comment and let me know what part of Cara's story resonated most with you. Also, many of you don't know, every Friday now, I write a personal advice email to my community on my mailing list. It is, I think, one of the best things I do every week, and so many of you aren't signed up to it right now. It's free. You can join at the3relationships.com. It will take you 10 seconds to join, and then you can look forward to my private email this Friday. Every week, I give advice on finding love, heartbreak, managing our emotions, improving our confidence. It's really practical. It's filled with free, valuable information. And I also write things in this email that are quite personal to me that I don't write anywhere else. And this is the only place to access it. So if you want to get this email from me straight into your inbox every Friday, all you need to do is sign up. It will take you 10 seconds at the3relationships.com. And I'll see you in your inbox this Friday. Thank you for watching this video. As always, leave me a comment and I look forward to reading them. And I'll see you next week. Be well and love life. What is the reason that so many people struggle to turn date 1 into date 2? Because a lot of people go on a date, feels like it went well, but then the person doesn't call afterwards. How do you, look, you can't ever say that you can make it inevitable that someone's going to call after a date, but how do you nudge things in that direction? How do you make such an impact on the date that afterwards this person feels compelled to want to see you again? In this video, we discuss the thing that so many people fail to do that means they never get the call. Check it out, and I will see you at the end of the video for a special little gift. How do you create chemistry in addition to connection? A lot of people who go on a first date, finish the date, think that it went well. We had great conversation. It all seemed to be going well, and then I never got the call after the date. What, in your opinion, are the things that you can say or do on a date to create chemistry so that you can actually secure a second date instead of just having a date where there was great conversation and perhaps connection, but not the fire that gives it the momentum to take it to that second or third date?
Well, it's well observed that there is a difference there, and that's already astute to note that the connection is different to chemistry. And some people are great talkers, and they're great at opening up and being fun and just talking all night. Like, hey, like especially people who go to business networking and stuff, they're like, talk, chat. I've got loads of thoughts and ideas and opinions, but thoughts and ideas and opinions are not what create sexual tension. They're not what create a spark, a frisson, the little magic where you feel something. And I've had this where I've gone on dates with people and been like, that was fun, or I had a nice time, but there was never a moment. There was never a moment where I felt like, that's exciting, or, I'm really intrigued by her, or I feel physical pull towards her now. And
which it should be noted is not simply to do with chemistry, isn't even to do with how good looking someone is. You could be sitting opposite someone you think objectively is really good looking or really beautiful, but there's some if you see chemistry as electricity that joins the two of you, there's no electricity joining the two of you. There's just them objectively looking attractive. So what is it? What's that? I've got a couple of things, Steve, to throw in the mix here, but what are the things that you think create that electricity so that it's not just two attractive people sitting opposite each other having nice conversation?
I think one thing is there's an element of risk involved in creating chemistry. There's always an element of, it doesn't take much to put yourself on the line to give an idea, an opinion, a thought, I've got this goal and this is what I love. But maybe if you take a risk and notice something about them, or you give a little, even if you said, you have really cute dimples when you smile, even that is a risk. It's a moment of risk. Or you say, it's I don't know. You sound really cute when you laugh like that, or that shirt looks really good on you. Like even as small as that, as just being like, no, I think that shirt looks great on you. It's like, shows your big shoulders. Like I like it.
And you do have big shoulders, Steve.
Thank you, Matt. So do you.
Family.
I think like a moment like that registers, especially like in a guy's brain. A lot of I think we've talked about this before, but I think men as a whole are less used to getting like a physical compliment or something that just says, "Oh, I noticed that about you, and I think it's attractive." They're less used to getting that, and I think men register that a lot, and they remember it, and they remember something you're attracted to about them. But that always takes a moment of, you're like, "Oh, they noticed me." They are thinking in that way. It's not that you have to be thinking dirty thoughts, but they are thinking in that way. They're thinking like this is a date. That's what we're here for. We're not just we're not just messing around being pals here. We're thinking, I'm actually into you. Like, I'm kind of interested in you. And so there's vulnerability, there's intrigue, there's, a little bit of a little bit of risk. Those are the seeds that start creating chemistry beyond just we're connecting, we're vibing.
Now, I want to add a layer to that, because I actually, as you said, notice something about someone, give a compliment. There are two things. There's something that came up for me. There was two scenarios that I imagined. One was a person who was saying that in a relaxed, calm, confident way. And the other was someone who really quickly said the compliment. Like if you imagine, Steve, any chemistry coming from this scenario. Hey, how are you? Oh my God, you look so great in that shirt. How are you doing tonight?
Yes, exactly. There's no chemistry.
Right? Now, Steve, there is a thing I have noticed over and over again over the years that we've been doing this. And it doesn't get mentioned enough when flirting is talked about. Because, of course, we're talking about flirting, right, as a way to create chemistry. Mm-hmm. That's really, if you want to say, how do you get, it's kind of, you could look at it like this. How do you get someone to call you for a second date? You have to create chemistry, right? Yeah. That if you have connection with no chemistry, you may not get the call. In fact, it's possibly even likely you won't get the call. If you have chemistry without connection, you'll still get the call.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Chemistry in the beginning can get you through a lot. Yeah. Even, by the way, chemistry has lots and lots of people going on dates and getting closer and closer and closer that shouldn't be. Yeah. That are ultimately going to absolutely destroy each other's hearts, right? But
lack of connection you'll suffer later on. Lack of chemistry, you'll suffer early on.
Yes, exactly. That's a nice way of putting it. Yeah. So if you want a second date, you have to create chemistry. How do you create chemistry? You flirt. And then you get into, okay, what are all the ways that you can flirt? By the way, for anyone who wants to go deeper on flirting, we actually have a free chapter from our program, How to Talk to Men, that you can go and download that is specifically on flirting. So if you want a kind of taste of the whole program, How to Talk to Men, via a chapter that literally gives you specific things to say and do to flirt, go to getthefreechapter.com. That's completely free. You can just go and enjoy that. Here's what I've noticed, Stephen, that doesn't get talked about enough. What is the reason that so many people struggle to turn date 1 into date 2? Because a lot of people go on a date, feels like it went well, but then the person doesn't call afterwards. How do you, look, you can't ever say that you can make it inevitable that someone's going to call after a date, but how do you nudge things in that direction? How do you make such an impact on the date that afterwards this person feels compelled to want to see you again? In this video, we discuss the thing that so many people fail to do that means they never get the call. Check it out, and I will see you at the end of the video for a special little gift. How do you create chemistry in addition to connection? A lot of people who go on a first date, finish the date, think that it went well. We had great conversation. It all seemed to be going well, and then I never got the call after the date. What, in your opinion, are the things that you can say or do on a date to create chemistry so that you can actually secure a second date instead of just having a date where there was great conversation and perhaps connection, but not the fire that gives it the momentum to take it to that second or third date?
Well, it's well observed that there is a difference there, and that's already astute to note that connection is different to chemistry. And some people are great talkers, and they're great at opening up and being fun and just talking all night. Like, hey, like especially people who go to business networking and stuff, they're like talk, chat. I've got loads of thoughts and ideas and opinions, but thoughts and ideas and opinions are not what create sexual tension. They're not what create a spark, a frisson, the little magic where you feel something. And I've had this where I've gone on dates with people and been like, that was fun, or I had a nice time, but there was never a moment. There was never a moment where I felt like, that's exciting, or, I'm really intrigued by her, or I feel physical pull towards her now. And
which it should be noted is not simply to do with chemistry, isn't even to do with how good looking someone is. You could be sitting opposite someone you think objectively is really good looking or really beautiful, but there's some if you see chemistry as electricity that joins the two of you, there's no electricity joining the two of you. There's just them objectively looking attractive. So what is it? I've got a couple of things, Steve, to throw in the mix here, but what are the things that you think create that electricity so that it's not just two attractive people sitting opposite each other having nice conversation?
I think one thing is there's an element of risk involved in creating chemistry. There's always an element of, it doesn't take much to put yourself on the line to give an idea, an opinion, a thought, I've got this goal and this is what I love. But maybe if you take a risk and notice something about them, or you give a little, even if you said, you have really cute dimples when you smile, even that is a risk. It's a moment of risk. Or you say, it's I don't know, you sound really cute when you laugh like that, or that shirt looks really good on you. Like, even as small as that, as just being like, no, I think that shirt looks great on you. It's like, shows your big shoulders. Like, I like it.
And you do have big shoulders, Steve.
Thank you, Matt. So do you.
Family.
I think like a moment like that registers, especially like in a guy's brain. A lot of I think we've talked about this before, but I think men as a whole are less used to getting like a physical compliment or something that just says, "Oh, I noticed that about you and I think it's attractive." They're less used to getting that, and I think men register that a lot, and they remember it, and they remember something you're attracted to about them. But that always takes a moment of, you're like, "Oh, they noticed me." They are thinking in that way. It's not that you have to be thinking dirty thoughts, but they are thinking in that way. They're thinking like this is a date. That's what we're here for. We're not just we're not just messing around being pals here. We're thinking, I'm actually into you. Like, I'm kind of interested in you. And so there's vulnerability, there's intrigue, there's a little bit of a little bit of risk. Those are the seeds that start creating chemistry beyond just we're connecting, we're vibing.
Now, I want to add a layer to that, because I actually, as you said, notice something about someone, give a compliment. There are two things. There's something that came up for me. There was two scenarios that I imagined. One was a person who was saying that in a relaxed, calm, confident way. And the other was someone who really quickly said the compliment. Like, if you imagine, Steve, any chemistry coming from this scenario. Hey, how are you? Oh my God, you look so great in that shirt. How are you doing tonight?
Yes, exactly. There's no chemistry.
Right. Now, Steve, there is a thing I have noticed over and over again over the years that we've been doing this. And it doesn't get mentioned enough when flirting is talked about. Because, of course, we're talking about flirting, right, as a way to create chemistry. Mm-hmm. That's really, if you want to say, how do you get...
Oh, hi. I'm human dynamics coach Matthew Hussey. You may recognize me from The Today Show or my New York Times best-selling book, Get the Guy. Best-selling. Today I want to talk about secret something you ladies can give a man to drive him wild. But because of archaic social taboos, most women tend not to go there. Of course, I'm talking about brainal. Brainal. The act of penetrating deep subjects of intellectual curiosity with a partner, resulting in mental stimulation and often physical emotional attraction. See, the truth is, intelligence is sexy. I'll show you. Now, Jane thinks Charlie is sort of douchey. Kind of cute, but sort of douchey. And right now, he's talking about his band.
Sasha wants me to play bass, but Pat's like, you're better at the accordion, and Chad agrees with him. But each person wants to have their opinion because it's a group band. It's not just my band. It's not Charlie's band. Though we're toying with the name Charlie's band, so there's weird dynamics.
Go deeper, Chuck. Much deeper.
I never want to be afraid to try new things. I heard once that life begins where your comfort zone ends. So maybe the bass could be a foundation for my whole new life. I mean, no pun intended.
Doesn't that feel better? Jane's just been brainily stimulated, and she liked it. Likewise, men who are truly comfortable in their masculinity enjoy receiving brainal as well. It's true. It's science. Now I know what you're thinking. I don't want the stigma of being that girl renowned for giving great brainal. This is called the Margaret Thatcher paradox. This problem occurs for Jane when she talks a bit too much about corporate finance.
33% equity at that price indicates a huge valuation, but based on nothing empirical, so suddenly it's like I'm discounting cash flow based on an arbitrary NPV.
Oh, totally. That's right. That's what I thought.
Ouch, Charlie. That's dry brainal, and it really hurts, and it's still hurting. Brainal isn't just about going deep. It's about opening up and connecting. There's got to be a back and forth.
Remember, Jane, brainal should be shared. It should go both ways.
At work, I weigh value against risk. But maybe you're right. Maybe the value is the risk. The ability to create new directions and push comfort zones and play the out of that bass.
I love you.
Now that's full-on brainal.
Certain risks apply, so be sure your partner properly preps for brainal. Start small with weather and traffic talk and slowly ease into brainal. Remember to relax and avoid controversial topics like politics and religion when starting out brainal. Tense brainal can quickly escalate into a messy situation. Now we like to have a few laughs here at Get the Guy, but I hope you've enjoyed this video on multiple levels. We've certainly enjoyed having you. In fact, it kind of feels like we just had brainal.